Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by New Jersey Sharing Network, Kane University, where cougars climb higher, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, the TURRELL Fund, supporting REIMAGINEchildcare, IBEW Local 102, lighting the path, leading the way. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, here when you need us most, now and always. Veolia, resourcing the world. RWJ Barnabas Health. And by Operating Engineers, Local 825. Promotional support provided by NJ.com, keeping communities informed and connected. And by ROINJ, informing and connecting businesses in New Jersey.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The way we change presidents in this country is by voting.
I'm hopeful that this is the beginning to accountability.
Life without dance is boring.
I don't care how good you are or how good you think you are, there is always something to learn.
I did do the finale, and guess where my trailer was? A block away from my apartment. It couldn't have been better.
People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
It's not all about memorizing and getting information. It's what you do with that information.
Start talking right now.
Such a good question. High five.
Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Adubato. We are honored for this entire program to be joined by United States Senator Cory Booker. Senator, good to see you.
It's really good to see you. Thank you for having me on again.
So, Senator, we're doing this program at the end of May. There are no words to describe what happened in Texas in that classroom with 19 children, 2 teachers. As of when we're taping this program, we hope nothing, there are no words to describe it. But then there were incidents before that, and before that, and before that. What do you believe it will take for some of your colleagues in the United States Senate to simply agree on a basic background check?
I mean, that's the painful
thing. Purchase assault weapons. I'm sorry, go ahead, Senator.
No, that's the painful thing, is that Americans, gun owners, Republicans, if you just poll us on simple things like comprehensive background checks to make sure that people who should not have guns, who we all agree should not have the guns, don't get them, we have a 85% or more of Americans agree with that, and we can't get a bill done in Congress to do it. And so I'm frustrated, I'm hurt, I'm angry. I'm just in disbelief that we are a nation that tolerates now such high levels of carnage, where the #1 killer of our children is gun violence. In fact, guns kill more kids than AIDS, than opioids, than influenza, asthma attacks, all of that combined. And so if it's not that, what will it be? And so I'm also at the point now where I really do believe that we should be going to the polls, forget party, just electing people based upon their support of the most moderate steps that we could take to protect ourselves, hold people accountable at the polls, or else I'm not sure if anything will change.
You know, there are going to be people right away in the first 2 minutes of this program who say, you know, Steve, Senator Booker, you, others who bring up issues, and obviously my job is not to have a point of view, but to facilitate a conversation. But, you know, it's misleading to people to talk about background checks or limiting assault weapons to an 18-year-old who purchases them on his 18th birthday and goes into a school and do it. You know what? It is a mental health issue, and it's distracting and confusing. You're smiling because you know that a lot of people are saying, quote, guns don't kill people, people kill people. So the gun safety, gun control discussion is a distraction. And there are millions of them, Senator, millions. And apparently half of your colleagues in the Senate.
Well, the absurdity of that argument, when nations from Canada to England to Germany have our same issues, the same violent video games, the same mental health challenges, the same people that are seduced. I just got back from Germany, seduced by extreme fringes on the internet. But the reason why we are the only nation with this level of carnage is because we're the only nation in which people could so easily access guns. We are an outlier. People who want to talk about American exceptionalism must confront the fact that other nations don't have these crises. And when they have had them, from England to New Zealand to Australia, they implemented tough gun safety measures, and those incidences virtually disappeared. So I'm sorry, all these other things people want to point to, what makes America the country that sees 100+ people of its citizens die every day to gun violence is the guns, is the ease of access to the guns.
What do you think your colleagues are afraid of? I mean, by just finding compromise, and the term gun control is interesting to me because the term control, you're not going to control my body with a vaccine. You're not going to control me, the Second Amendment. Gun safety, just take control out of it, gun safety. What do you think stops a significant number of your colleagues, enough to not even allow for a vote, because you now need 60, right, with the filibuster situation? What do you think stops some of them who say they care deeply about our children and about gun violence and protecting our children in particular? What do you think stops them from just finding some compromise, just a little bit? And is it purely the gun lobby and the NRA? Is that it?
I don't want to get into the fruitless odyssey of trying to figure out the motivations of my colleagues. I do know one thing though. I remember when I was mayor, one of my friends joked with me, "You're going to go from a job, Cory, where when you the buck stopped with you, where you're an executive and you're going to go into a legislature." And he goes, "Unlike you when you were mayor, concerned about crime and potholes and fixing things, you're going to a legislature," and my friend told me, "where the top 3 concerns is always going to be re-election, re-election, re-election." And so this to me is just a simple equation. If you don't like the decisions your representatives are making, then replace your representatives. In the Senate races coming up in the fall, from our neighboring state of Pennsylvania to Ohio to Wisconsin to North Carolina, voters will have a real decision to make. Will they support the candidate that will do moderate common sense measures of gun safety that will keep us safer, or are they willing to just do the roulette that maybe my family won't get hurt by this? Maybe it won't be my school. Maybe it won't be my church. Maybe it won't be my synagogue. Maybe it won't be my supermarket. Well, that is outrageous. We're all in this together. And if it takes the fear of it happening to your family to motivate you, then you don't love your fellow citizens enough. This should be a national demand for all of us, that the government do what it was first organized, read our founding documents, for the common defense. Well, more people have died in gun violence in my lifetime than in all the American wars combined, Civil War, Revolutionary War, World Wars, all those combined. Less Americans died in all of those wars than have died in the last 50 years due to gun violence. And so if we're going to protect our nation, if we're going to defend ourselves, the first thing we must do is make it difficult, if not impossible, for people who are intent on doing carnage, killing people, from getting guns. And we can do it. And there's evidence-based initiatives. Not one bill is not going to solve everything, but I can look at the data and know that. And some people say, and I heard one of my colleagues on the floor saying, well, Chicago and New York still have violent crime.
I heard that today as we tape this program.
Yeah, they have the toughest gun laws. Well, let me tell you something. As a mayor of a city that had violence, we were able to push the rates down. But when we would trace where the guns came from, they didn't come from New Jersey or New York. They came from the states with the laxest gun laws. You in America, unless we have federal legislation, are only as safe as the closest state to you with the worst gun laws. All the guns, a significant amount of the guns used in crimes in New Jersey are trafficked from out of state where they do not have our same level of gun laws. And by the way, even in states like Connecticut is a great example. The same thing, the Iron Pipeline. It's called the Iron Pipeline. Guns flow into those states. But when Connecticut passed something simple and said, hey, look, it should not be easier in our state for a 20-year-old to get a gun than get a driver's license. So they said, we're just gonna you have to apply for a license, have some basic safety. Their gun violence rate dropped 14%. So we know the things that people have done from New Zealand and Australia all the way to Connecticut. We know the things that do that lower, don't eliminate it completely, but make things safer. But until we are a democracy, until people vote for the person that will keep their family safe, nothing will change.
I want to cover a little bit on some childcare issues because we're doing a series called Reimagine Childcare and also a new series we're doing on urban issues. But I want to listen to this shift or pivot because it doesn't seem like there's a connection. But Ukraine matters. Why? To us here. Why does it matter, Senator?
I mean, it's almost like asking, as totalitarian nations from Germany to Japan began their militaristic aims, began invading other countries, why it didn't matter to America. We are in a point now where we have seen Putin invade Georgia, invade Crimea, begin to become more hostile to Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and now again invade a sovereign nation. If we do not stop someone with those territorial ambitions now, right now, who knows what they're going to be doing next? And look at some very nations that have resisted getting into military alliances, like Finland and Sweden. You now see them getting it. They're like, we need to join the cause of helping to defend the Ukraine and join the free nations of the West in a unified alliance in NATO. So we are deeply implicated in what's going on right now in Ukraine and deeply invested in for not only defending Ukraine, but really it ultimately amounts to defending democracy.
One more quick question before we go to a very short break, and stay with us. We're speaking to United States Senator Cory Booker. We are taping this program at the end of May to put things in perspective. The world, everything is going on around us, changing as we speak, but we talk about big picture, but the big picture keeps changing as well. That being said, Senator, let me try this. I asked your colleague, Senator Bob Menendez, this in a previous interview. Check out our interview with him at steveadubato.org. January 6th does not matter to a significant number of Americans. To many of us, it does, the significance of it. From your perspective, the ongoing investigation, Congress's role, and trying to understand what happened that day, why it happened, and who was responsible, matters. Why, as we put up the graphic, democracy at a crossroads, why does it matter, particularly to our system of democracy?
Look, I remember in Harrington Park Elementary School, my history teacher writing it on the blackboard. If you fail to learn from history, you're destined to repeat it. And I think that many of us take our democratic freedoms and our nation's traditions for granted and don't understand that, as John Lewis, my colleague, said, democracy is not a state of being, it's actions. And that every generation has to prove worthy of what they've inherited by working to strengthen it and to defend it. And so I was in the Capitol that day, on the floor with Bob Menendez, and as we were escaping in an escape route, saw injured police officer after injured police officer. We lost in New Jersey in that day, Officer Brian Sicknick. And to think that someone tried a violent overthrow of our government, it should be stunning to us all. And
it's not, Senator. It's not.
I know. And it can't, because it's too often being filtered by some partisan lens, as we in this nation are threatened by a tribalism in a way that we have not seen in generations, where it's not about right or wrong, it's about, are you right or left? And that is a destructive formula for a democracy, where you don't have these ironclad principles, truth, justice, ideas about defending freedoms and defending your nation. And so I worry about the culture of contempt that is growing in our country like a cancer, where we hate each other just because we're not on the same side of the aisle, where we stop listening to each other, where we stop following truth and facts and more just follow party, right or wrong. These are all toxins that will kill the body politic, that will take down our nation if we don't start paying attention to it. And good faith people on both sides of the aisle know this. And we have got to get to the bottom of what happened on January 6th, learn from it, and work to prevent it from happening again.
That's United States Senator Cory Booker. This is a half-hour special we're doing with the senator. We appreciate with everything he's got going on in Washington and in New Jersey being with us. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come back with the senator right after this.
To watch more One-on-One with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
Welcome back, Steve Adubato. More importantly, United States Senator Cory Booker. Senator, let me try this. We're doing a series called Urban Matters in cooperation with Kean University. They have the John S. Watson Institute dealing with urban issues there, and we're focusing on urban issues more than ever. Question. You were the mayor of Newark. You're committed to not just the Newarks of the world, if you will. What are the 2 or 3 most significant, quote unquote, urban issues, or are they just issues that happen in urban areas and affect all of us? I don't want to answer the question that I asked, but go ahead, Cory.
Well, one, you and I both know this because you and God, your dad and mom are champions in this space, which is education. You know, that still is the pathway to success in America, to have not just schools, but real cathedrals of learning. And I'm really proud that we've done that. Newark is a testimony. Newark is one of the best cities in America that if you're a low-income kid below the poverty line, you have come to Newark because you have one of the best chances to make it to college. And we have schools that dramatically outperform some of the wealthier areas of the state. So I'm proud of that. So that's number one. Number two is, I'm just going to say, you got to have a safe community. Violence and crime traumatize communities. It undermines economic development and well-being. And so I think we make a mistake, though, if we simply equate public safety with police. That's part of the equation, but I will tell you the Newark story. It's almost maybe saying it's almost saying like justice is what you want, because it's not justice when you have such widespread lead poisoning in New Jersey and urban areas where children are having their brains permanently damaged, their executive function is being undermined, and that leads to more problems in school, more run-ins with the police. Public safety is, we know when kids are above the poverty line, their run-ins with the police go dramatically down. We know that everything from access to healthy, nutritious foods lowers crime rates. I can tell you all the things that if we just focus on childhood well-being, we would have a less need for police. So I would say not first school, second peace and justice for every community and a certain baseline. And then the last one, which I love, and it's exciting to see it exploding in Newark, is economic opportunity. We need to make sure that we are a place of a constructive and conscientious growth and opportunity for people. And again, we've seen in Newark, as well as other cities and towns in New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting, Cory. Senator, over in, is it Jersey City over in Hudson County, where there's a large federal grant going there to help? You see us smiling, so you know what I just teed that up for you. Go ahead, real quick.
I will tell you, I'm really proud. Bob and I, this is a record in New Jersey history.
Bob, now, of course, you're talking about your colleague, the senior United States Senator, Bob and Cory and Bob. Go ahead.
Yes, please, Bob and Cory.
Yeah, I get it. I understand these things.
Yeah, he and I have set a record now for bringing the most money back to our state of any duo we've had in any Congress in the history of New Jersey, especially with these massive bills, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which is going to bring tens of billions of dollars to our state, as well as the American Rescue Plan, which helped small businesses all over New Jersey, among other things. And so we are really key, Bob and I, in understanding that, cities like Newark, cities like Jersey City, cities like Atlantic City, don't just support the people that live in those cities. They are hubs for they're economic engines for our state, our ports, our railways, our institutions of higher learning. These are economic drivers that create hundreds of thousands of jobs for New Jersey. So the investments we've been able to make in these key nubs, and having a great relationship with the president whose administration has allowed us to punch above our weight. We've returned more money per population than a lot of other big states, so we're punching above our weight. But I love New Jersey. You invest in New Jersey, we produce results.
So when you mentioned the president, that's where I was going. For those who are watching right now who say, you know what, Adubato's being soft, on the Democrats because isn't it a fact that inflation is what it is? The economy is struggling the way it is. That baby formula is off the shelves, again, taping at the end of the May. Hopefully that's not the case for much longer. The Afghanistan debacle, the withdrawal, if you will, and a whole list of other things that people blame on the president. And its ratings are what they are as we speak right now. I appreciate you saying that the president was supportive in the initiative that you just talked about, but there are real struggles there. And,
oh my God.
And go ahead.
Yeah, there are tons of struggles, and we shouldn't soft pedal the struggles of New Jersey families right now.
Are you looking because you have a vote coming up?
How did you know that?
Because I served one term in the state legislature, and then they booted me out to do this, and I know that look. But go ahead.
But what I want to say is this, look, to say Biden is responsible for inflation or gas prices means that if you go to Germany, which I told you I just was at, and their inflation is through the roof and their gas prices are even higher, or travel around the world, this global inflation, because of the shocks to our global supply chains, which has things going up all over the world, is not Biden's fault. But Biden should take responsibility for trying to fix the problems. So when he came in, remember, we were losing hundreds of thousands of jobs a month when he took office. We were a nation that had small businesses hanging on by threads in New Jersey. And so he pumped a lot of money to save our small businesses, to help people whose families were with stimulus checks, to make sure that the unemployment rate it started going way down. It sunk dramatically. So now we don't have an unemployment problem. We're very fortunate. Wages are going up. The challenge we have is an inflation problem. And so what the president's doing right now at our ports, trying to untangle them, what the president's doing right now to try to keep costs from going down by attacking price gougers, all of these things are
including gas prices. Including gas prices.
Yeah, and these oil companies who are making record profits off of the stoked fear. So remember, their profits are going way up, more so. They're raising prices more than the actual stimulus of impression. He's going after them as well. So again, will Biden be able to fix this global inflation? No. Will he be able to ameliorate it for Americans? And I'm frustrated in the Senate, though, that we keep getting blocked from every time we want to try to do something to help people who are struggling. We're about to do stuff to try to lower prescription drug prices, struggling to get 10 Republicans to join us in getting insulin prices under $35. We're trying to get more money to our small businesses. Many of the restaurants are still struggling. There's a lot of things we're trying to do that will help with the problem, but I have to give Biden a lot of credit for getting us out of the ditch that he inherited. And remember, we didn't even barely had needles in the arms in terms of the COVID crisis. And he coordinated this incredible vaccination plan. So look, does this president get a perfect rating? No. But does he get a high rating from me watching him up close in terms of the problems he's been solving and the resources he's been getting to New Jersey, businesses, hospitals, schools, bridges, tunnels? I give him a huge, for being Jersey friendly, I give him a huge, huge A.
Senator, I want to be sensitive. Do you have a couple more minutes? I don't want to screw up that.
Yeah, I don't know what my staff is screaming in your ear, but I miss our conversations and want to go on for a couple more minutes. If we can.
Can I do one more topic? Childcare. We're doing a series called Childcare. The childcare crisis. I mean, there's so many crises in this country, but affordable, accessible, quality childcare. The role of the federal government and particularly the U.S. Senator like yourself in that regard
is paramount, is essential. We are an outlier on the planet Earth in free Western nations that in most states, affordable quality childcare is more expensive than tuition at college. And we know that dollars invested in childcare produce multiple results for returns for dollars of return for us as a society in terms of the well-being of that child, the productivity of the child, and therefore the tax dollars we get, and keeping that child out of trouble or everything from healthcare to run-ins with the police. It's a good investment, produces returns, and we should be a nation that is leading the planet Earth on what we do for our children. And I'll give you the last point here.
Sure.
We are the best college country on the planet, hands down. We're competitive, not as good as I want us to be, K through 12. But other countries have now learned that most of the brain, the most valuable economic unit on the planet in a global knowledge-based society, Most of the brain develops from the womb until the 5th year. Over 90% of the brain's developed. We don't do a good job. We lead nations in infant mortality, low birth weight babies, industrial nations. We lead industrial nations in child poverty. All the things that during that child's development, we're not doing a good enough job. Childcare is critical for us to begin to outcompete our competitors by investing in brain development, investing in those early years that set a foundation for the rest of the learning and success of a child.
Senator Cory Booker, I cannot thank you enough for taking your time to be with us while your staff is telling you have to be on the floor to vote. You honor us by your presence. We wish you, your family, and your colleagues in the U.S. Senate all the best doing the work of the people. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
All the best. I'm Steve Adubato. That is United States Senator Cory Booker. We'll see you next time.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the CAUCUS Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by New Jersey Sharing Network, Kane University, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, the TURRELL Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, IBEW Local 102, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Veolia, RWJ Barnabas Health, Operating Engineers, Local 825, and by these public-spirited organizations, individuals, and associations committed to informing New Jersey citizens about the important issues facing the Garden State. And by Employers Association of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by NJ.com and by ROINJ.
New Jersey's early educators and childcare providers are more than twice as likely to live below the poverty line versus the general workforce. Reimagine Childcare, formed by a coalition in New Jersey, is dedicated to improving accessibility, affordability, and quality of childcare and reimagining the way we support these essential providers. Learn more by visiting reimaginechildcare.org.